most of you won't be able to go a day without seeing percentages somewhere. So what we're going to do for the next 4 or so lessons is we're going to look at percentage problems, and we're going to use a particular strategy to answer those percentage problems. So in terms of these types of problems, they generally fall into 3 different categories. And what we'll do is do category 1. Now what we're going to do is use a method called the dual number line to help us answer or visualize solutions to all 3 types of problem. What it allows us to do is the dual number line becomes the one-stop shop, so to speak, for answering all percentage questions. And this saves us having to remember certain formulas or certain ways of doing particular problems. It allows us just to use one method on all of the 3 groups of problems. So that's the advantage of this. Again, many of you will be able to do these problems without the dual number line, but I want you to give it a go because as I'll show you, there are some problems that this will help you with. Okay. So one type of problem is express one amount as a percentage of another. So for example, we're expressing 34 as a percentage of 40. And that's, I suppose, the scenario where you got 34 out of 40 in, say, a mathematics test. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is the way the dual number line, this red thing is the dual number line. So what you'll do is you'll set up one of these on your piece of paper. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to write 100 over on this left side and 0 down the bottom. And that is the percentages. All right. Now, 100% means all of it. Okay, if you're asking someone to give you 100%, they mean give you all that you've got. That's what they're after. Okay. Now, what would all of it be in this particular scenario here? Okay. Well, that's going to be 40 marks, and that's what we do is we put what 100% represents on the right hand side of it. Now, what we know is that 50% would be in the middle. Okay, that would be 50% and that would be 20. All right, so 34 is going to be somewhere up here, and I don't quite know where, but I'm going to pop it there because that seems roughly appropriate. And 34%, what does that look like to you? If that's 50, maybe this is around 80% or 75%, just by kind of rough approximation. Okay, the fact is that we don't know what the percentage is, so we're going to put an X to represent the unknown percentage. All right, now here is the way we then start using the dual number line. What we're going to do is start on side with unknown, start at known. All right, what does that mean? Well, the left side here is the side with the unknown, and 100 is the known. All right. Now, what you're going to do is you start at the known, and what you're going to do is draw an arrow down to what would be 1% down here. Okay, so we're going to draw an arrow down to what would be 1%. Put an arrowhead on that. Then what you're going to do is climb back up to the known, to the unknown. Okay, so start with a known, down to 1, up to X. All right, here's what you do next. You literally copy the same directional arrows over on the right hand side. So we're going to put a directional arrow down to there and a directional arrow up to there. All right, what do we put on these arrows? Well, we want 40 to go down to 1. How would I get 40 down to 1? Well, what I'm going to do is divide it by 40. Now we're at 1. What do I do to get to 34? Okay, and the only operations that we're allowed to use is divide and multiply. Okay, so we're at 1 and we want to get to 34. So the way we get there is we multiply by 34. All right, almost there. Now what you do is you literally copy these same numbers over to these arrows here. So this arrow here is going to have the divide 40 on it, and this arrow here is going to have the multiply 34 on it. All right, here's the fun part. All right, what we're going to do now is say that x is equal to. All right, now we started at 100, so you write that, and you follow the arrow through. We're going to do 100 divided by 40 multiplied by, so 100 divided by 40 multiplied by 34 is equal to x. All right, and then you're going to grab your calculator because all of this is going to be tech active. I'm just starting up my calculator here. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to type in 100 divided by 40 and then multiplied by 34. Enter. And it's 85. And that's 85%. Which seems roughly right. What do we guess? 80, 75 maybe. Okay, so that's that problem there. Okay, so there's our rule, is start on side with unknown, start with known. Okay, and then we just follow this process. Now this is all going to be recorded on a video here, or this is obviously all being recorded on a video because you're watching it, but you'll need to kind of practice this process a little bit. Okay, all right, express 60 cents as a percentage of $5. So just say we're saving up $5, and I say, wow, I've got 60 cents of the $5. What is that as a percentage? Well, it'd be fairly low, okay? In terms of getting to $5, 60 cents is not that far along, okay? So let's set up our dual number line again. We've got 100 there, we've got 0 at the bottom, and 1 down here. Now, all of it, everything we're trying to save for, is this $5 here. All right, and what we do have is 60 cents. Now, half of it would be 250. Half of 250 is 125. So we're somewhere all the way down here. Now, let's be careful with the units because 60 cents and $5 are not in the same unit. So what I'm going to do is convert the 60 cents into dollars by saying that 60 cents is 0.6 of a dollar. Okay. The other thing you could do is just turn this into cents by writing it as 500 cents. It's kind of up to you. Okay, so I'm going to put 0.6 over this side, and I want to know what percentage that is. All right, so we've got our x over here. Now we're going to follow the rule, start on side with unknown, that's this side here, start at known. Okay, so we'll start at 100, which is the known. We're going to take it down to 1, and then up to x. Okay, so we start at the known, we always take it down to 1, and then up to the unknown value. All right, do you remember what to do next? What we're going to do is over on this right hand side is literally copy the directional arrows. Okay, so bad one. There and there. Okay, so starting at 5 and going down to 1, how do I do that? Well, what I do is I would divide by 5. Remember, the only operations you're allowed to use is divide and multiply. So 5 divided by 5 gets me to 1. From 1, I need to get to 0.6. How would I do that? Well, 1 times 0.6 will get me to 0.6. All right, do you remember what to do next? We just copy these numbers over to their corresponding arrow. So this is going to be divided by 5, and this arrow is going to be times by 0.6. Right, and now we are ready to work out the answer. We're going to say x is equal to, okay, because that's the unknown, x is equal to. We started at 100, we divided it by 5 to get down to here, and then we multiplied by 0.6. So all I'm really doing is just following arrows. All right, so same as before now, what we're going to do is get our calculator and go 100, I'm going to divide you by 5 and then multiply you by 0.6. and it's 12%, that is. All right? And that's basically saying that 60 cents represents 12% of the $5. Or if I was saving up and I wanted to know what percentage way was I towards my target, that would be 12% of the way. All right? Okay. Now, calculate the percentage of a quantity type question. So what we want here is we want 25% of 128. And I know a lot of you will know that that's just a quarter of 128. So I just quarter this amount here. But let's just try it with a dual number line, because again, this particular technique will help you with some types of percentage problems. All right, so this represents all of it. This represents none of it, okay? Now, all of this quantity is 128, okay? And what we want to know is, what does 25% of it look like? Okay, so here's 50% over here, here's 25% over here. And what we want to know is, how much is that? Okay, what is that amount? What is 25% of this? All right, so you remember the rule. What we do is we start with the side with the unknown and start with the known. So this is the side with the unknown, and that's different. Okay, so this time this time here, or when we first started, we had an unknown percentage. This time we know what the percentage is. We want to know what the amount is. All right, so start with the side with the unknown, start with the known. Bring it down to 1, up to X. Copy the arrows. Down to 1, up to 25. Okay, now on this side here, so we can't start on this side, then what we do is we write down what we did. So just like over on these ones here, okay, once we've drawn the arrows over to here, we operated on that and then transferred that information to the unknown side. Okay, so we start with the known side and we go, hey, 100, how do I get you down to 1? Well, I'm going to divide you by 100. 1, how am I going to get you to 25? I'm going to multiply you by 25. Remember what you do here? You just copy in what we just wrote down. Okay. So finally, we write down X is equal to, okay, we follow the arrows. We start at 128, we divide by 100, and we multiply by 25. Try to have a guess at what the answer is going to be. 128 divided by 100 and then multiplied by 25. Okay, so half of 128 is going to be 60. Half of 60 is going to be roughly 30. So I'm expecting an answer around about 30. 32. Now this is not a percentage. In fact, this is $32. Okay, so 25% of $128 represents $32. All right, last question or last example. All right, find 155% of 60. Okay, so again, you might think that you can't go higher than 100%, but you certainly can and will for a lot of the senior maths that you end up doing. Those of you who end up studying financial maths will use this idea a lot. So what we're going to do is write down 100 as we've been doing, and 0, noting that 1 is roughly down here. Now in this question here, all of it, 100% of it is 60. Okay, and what we want is we want more than 100%. In fact, we want 155. Now here's 50, here's 100. So what we're going to do is just extend the number line up to around about here. Now you don't have to get the ruler out or measure up or anything. This is just supposed to be a visual tool to kind of understand what's going on. So here's 100%, okay, and what we're after is 155%. That's what we're after. And I want to know what that amount is. That's the unknown. Alrighty. The rule is that we start with a side with the unknown, excuse me, start with the known. 60 is the known. Take it down to 1, to the unknown. Literally copy the arrows over here, down to 1, up to 155. All right, starting at 100, and I know I'm starting because I can't start here because that would be like there's an arrow pointing there. So it must start at 100. We're going to divide by 100 and multiply by 155. Hopefully you're starting to get the pattern over here. We write down literally the same thing on the arrows. Okay, now we're about to solve our problem. We're going to say x is equal to, so this unknown is equal to, okay, we're starting at 60. We're going to divide by 100 and then multiply by 155. All right, let's have a guess at what it might be. So all of it, 100% of it is 60. 50% of 60 would be 30. So 155 is going to be roughly 60 and a bit more than 30. Okay, so I'm guessing 91, 92, something like that. Alrighty, so let's reveal what it's going to be. 60 divided by 100, multiplied by 155, 93. Okay, so 155% of 60 bucks is about 93, well, not about $93, it is $93. Okay, so you're going to try this yourself now. So completing worksheet 1, which will be on the OneNote, so grab a copy of that. There'll be solutions directly under it, and what I want you to do is you can scroll down on the solutions and you'll be able to see my work on the dual number line included. Okay, so you'll see me or what I drew up of these particular diagrams here. So good luck with that year 8s, and I'll catch you tomorrow.